Welcome, listeners, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Omnipresent Information Connection. This is an intentional episode, and I know this is what you've been teaching, training, motivating, directing, and guiding your clients to achieve for many years, Kevin.
Yes, thank you. So, getting right into it, setting an intention is like drawing a map of where you wish to go. It becomes the driving force behind your goals and your visions. Without intention, there's no map, and you're just driving down a road with no destination in mind.
Right. Or you're leaning back, sitting at home, and waiting for the road to come to you.
Yep.
Intention is a lot like driving down a road with a destination in mind, right? So you have to know how fast you need to go. You need to know what stops are going to be there along the way, what places you're going to be passing, and how you can get there without your car breaking down.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the two topics today is a 2-in-1. It has everything to do with direct intention and direct purpose in mind.
Ooh.
And so with that said, an authentic intention cannot be forced. You can't set an intention that you don't believe in. Here are 10 clear intentions to consider working into your daily meditation or life. Okay? For those that like to meditate. The first one is, say to yourself, I intend to manifest happiness naturally. Number 2 is, I intend to respond first and then react second. Number 3 is, I intend to witness divinity in everyone. That's very important.
Yes, a powerful one.
Number 4, I intend to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, I intend to be open to success and abundance. Number 6, I intend to stop taking things so personally.
Yes, that's a good one.
Number 7, I intend to forgive others and myself simultaneously.
Yes, power of forgiveness.
Number 8, I intend to love unconditionally. Number 9, I intend to make meditation a more important part of my lifestyle. And for those that don't meditate, you can literally just focus on your thinking, focus on your words, and then focus on your intention behind those words.
Right. Not everyone is a meditator, but everyone practices mindfulness at some point along their journey.
Absolutely. And then number 10, I intend to make someone smile every day, even if that's just me.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of people where their intention for every day is to do one good deed.
If you have another intention in mind that isn't listed, just go for it.
Yes, and Kevin, as a life coach, I know that this is something that you'll resonate with. If you are working at setting intention more healthily and more often in your life, a great way to get started doing this is to very simply write a list of intentions, just like what Kevin just read off. And once you have that list of intentions, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your front door, put it somewhere where you're going to see it and be able to check in on your intentions, and that will help you get the ball rolling.
Another great tip that has really helped me a great deal is being able to set an alarm on my phone for every hour.
Yes.
So every hour I have to be able to address this alarm, whether it's on vibrate or on full alarm, right?
Right.
It alerts me to my intentions for the day, for that hour, right?
Yes.
So that I can be able to be reminded to input, to be able to augment, or to be able to alter my way of thinking, feeling, and being, right?
Yes, and if you feel like you're going to get annoyed by that vibration every hour, that little tone every hour, set it on silent and just have a notification pop up on screen.
So I'm getting used to my cell phone because I have it always on my side, right? Because I got a cell phone holder on my side. So when it vibrates and go off, I know my 10 intentions because I just read them off to you, right? So throughout the course of the day, I know what's coming. I prepare myself in a happy, almost tranquil, very satisfied euphoric feeling knowing that I'm about ready to implement something almost as immediately as it comes, right?
Yeah.
So, first thing you want to do is to be able to keep it positive. Make sure your intention has a positive tone. If your intention is to have less stress, then say something like, my intention is to invite peace and calm within myself, and I mean it.
Yeah.
Right?
It has to be an inward feeling as well as an external spoken word.
Yes. Your chosen intention should always be positive, uplifting, and always in the present tense. Listeners, as you know, I will repeat this until you can't stand it any longer.
Okay.
But it really is a lifesaver. Everything positive comes in threes. Because I just now gave you a 3-step process, right? Your chosen intention should always be positive, uplifting, and always in a present tense, right?
Okay. Yep.
The reason why I keep things simple is because it works absolutely every time you utilize it. If I was to put more elements into it, then you're literally like putting your hands together. Instead of clapping, you're slapping yourself because you have more elements that you have to deal with. And so it's more important to be able to stick with 3 that are easier to remember, right?
Yeah.
So you want to refrain from using any negative words. So try to avoid saying something like, my intention is to fight this stupid stress.
Right, exactly. Yep. Then you're hating on it.
Second is make sure it can evolve. Here's what I mean. Set yourself up for success with a good night's sleep. Our minds are very clever, and when something new comes along, the mind is intrigued. But as time passes, the mind gets bored, right? If you stick with the same intention week after week, your mind will stop responding to it. The best way to resolve this is to make sure your intention or goal can easily be adjusted.
Right, you need to keep things fresh.
So,
and moving forward.
Every week, I change my 10 intentions based off of what I'm wanting to accomplish for that week.
Yeah.
And every week, it's different. It's new. It's refreshing. It's never the same. It's never boring, right? And writing out these intentions literally is the roadmap, the guiding stone, the stepping stone, the building blocks to your whole entire future. Not just financially, but emotionally, physically, and spiritually as well, right?
Right. So why do you have to put everything in the present tense?
The reason why you have to put everything in a present tense is because if you, the listener, have not found out by now, you are the gift. Because you are in the presence of who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are not only the gift, but you are gifted. And you have to be able to literally remind yourself every day, because the world will constantly say to you that you're not. So these intentions, these thoughts, allow you to be able to reel in, like fishers of men, these thoughts, feelings, and emotions that often cloud our judgment. So, with that said, you need to be able to, number 3 is affirm for the short term. What do I mean by that? It's more practical to set an intention for the short term rather than the long term. You can still think of the big picture, just divide your long-term intentions into a few shorter ones instead. And for those of you that like to be able to take an adult step forward, is that think of it literally like a jigsaw puzzle, but what you're doing is you're putting together a picture of what your authentic life, if all the dreams could come true in your life, that's the picture that you're trying to manifest. That's the picture that you're trying to put together, right? So you need to keep that picture, whatever that image is, whatever that dream life scenario is, you need to be able to keep that in puzzle form. So as you are going through the different pieces and finding the pieces that actually fit, you're actually putting them, you're cementing them, you're physically putting them in place for life. A lot of people just try to do it for the moment. I have never seen a jigsaw puzzle be put together for just a moment and then destroyed. Everyone likes to be able to see what is the final creation. What the world, what the media, what the newspapers, what all these different outlets do is try to be able to destroy that image of you. You need to be able to be focused, grounded, and assured of yourself and what you can do. Otherwise, that picture will never be clear, and it'll never be about you.
Yes, Kevin, what I think you're hinting at here is distractions.
Yes.
And this world is full of them. So when you are distracted, you don't have a full picture in mind of where you want to end up, who you want to be. You can't be that in this moment because there's really no form created yet. So with all these distractions, imagine putting a jigsaw puzzle together and then you get an extra piece from out in the universe. You get another piece, you get another piece, and you just constantly are trying to put this jigsaw puzzle together, never actually having a full picture. The pieces just keep on coming. Have a specific intention for your life in mind and build that.
Right.
Don't keep adding things into it. Now you can have different things on the side, but if you have that full picture in mind, then it's a lot easier to stay the course to creating that full jigsaw puzzle.
Now, we're going to go to the next segment of the topic. Living your life on purpose. Doing things on purpose, right? It is so important to not only to be able to, at this time, take a deep breath and to be able to literally allow yourself to be able to think, am I self-sabotaging myself on purpose? Am I creating obstacles and issues in my life on purpose? Am I creating a life unworthy of the life that was deemed by God for me to receive? Three of the very powerful questions that need to be answered, right? So by living your life with purpose, you can be able to proclaim, you can be able to bring back, you can be able to restore your purpose within your life's mission and vision by being able to, on purpose, put out into the world the right thoughts, the right feelings, and the right words for those three elements to naturally then manifest an outcome, which is a picture and a reality for you to be able to then be a part of and then always want to be photographed in.
Right. Leaving a legacy.
Leaving a legacy, right? So living a purposeful life is important. We often struggle. Every human being does. But what's the purpose behind it?
That's what you have to ask yourself. Otherwise, you're out in a chaotic sort of mindset where there's no purpose.
Right.
It's just suffering.
So if you don't have friends that feed you emotionally, physically, spiritually, if you don't have a mentor, a coach, or a guide, if you don't have a pastor or a priest or a rabbi or whomever in the religious sect that you are wanting to connect with.
Yes, a trusted individual or elder.
Mm-hmm. Then what you're doing is purposefully missing out on a very key step in your life to being able to solve the fulfillment portion of your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So on purpose, you need to be able to find a purpose for living. 2, you need to then be able to find all the tools and techniques and tricks for being able to maximize it. And then 3rd, you need to be able to then become it on purpose. You need to be able to be writing on purpose. You need to be talking on purpose. You need to be living on purpose, right?
Yes.
So for those people that are lost, for those people that are wandering around for 40 years, just completely lost in the desert, I'm showing you a sign today, which is a stop sign, stopping you in your tracks, being able to tell you that you actually have a mission and a vision in your life, and that your life matters on purpose. Your intentions are always good. They are always trying to aid you, but whomever you learn from, you receive. Let me make that very, very critically clear. Whom you receive the information from, you become.
I like how you said that in a new way, Kevin.
The reason why I say that is because I always go to the Bible first. I get into the Word of God. I literally have a Bible, so whether it's pain, pleasure, whatever the topic is, I got a topical Bible. I go to whatever that feeling or that emotion or that circumstance or that situation is. I'll go into the Bible and I will read literally every passage in the Bible dealing with that particular issue. The reason why I started that whole journey is to be able to see if I was crazy, see if I was going crazy, see if I was just completely off the deep end, right? Just to find out that our ancestors did the same thing, but they actually talked to their ancestors, right?
Right. And now a great way to enhance this practice, if it sounds inspiring to you, it's something that I do too as well, is open a topical Bible and see what the Bible has to say about this. Read in context, and you will get so much more out of this practice. Because if you just read one verse out of this huge Bible full of 66 books, then you can get fed that way, but you're not really going to get the full story, the full picture. And it can be very powerful.
The full spectrum of what that picture really represents, right?
Right, exactly. What it meant back then and what it can mean applied to your life today.
Absolutely. So, on purpose, you need to wake up every day on purpose. That's the first key.
Yes, and how do you do that?
By setting either an alarm, having someone wake you, or to be so fired up for life that your body naturally commands your decision to wake up. It is so refreshing to be able to not set an alarm clock in my life, that I literally have now gained mastery over telling my body when to wake, when to go to bed. My body is not in control of me, I'm in control of my body. But how I got there is through a lot of great, beautiful, wonderful, fantastic mistakes in trying, right?
Oh, yeah?
But I had to try. No one is a overnight success story in this system of being able to slowly diminish an alarm clock, right?
Right.
I had to be able to convince my soul that I was worthy enough to be able to command myself to be able to awaken when I command it to. The second part of that was being able to then wake up and feel great about it. Then the third thing was to be able to thank God that I did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was just getting started with my day. That wasn't even doing anything else, right? So I already got the 3 steps out of the way.
Right, so as soon as you wake up, setting your intention to wake up at a certain time and have that body mastery, that leaves you starting your day with a success.
And it starts me on the pathway to direct purpose. Now I'm up. Now I now have 3 other things to accomplish on purpose. I need to get ready for the day. I need to be able to, if I had a just over broke opportunity, go to that opportunity and arrive on time. Then the third thing is to be able to get off work and to be able to go home and be with my friends, family, and loved ones, and to be able to set that example until I go to bed again, right? So living with a purpose, living with a direct intention really inspires a lot of people. But again, you'll always have a few people who say, well, Pastor, I'm not always motivated. I'm not always inspired. I'm not always feeling my best. But the more that you repeat this cycle, since a human body goes through a cycle and women have their own cycles, you should be able to learn to adapt your cycle of living around this method. Because when you do, then you're setting the wheel in motion emotionally, physically, and spiritually to be able to then pinpoint you in the right direction to where you need to go.
Yeah, so I see why waking up without setting an alarm clock can be powerful for you. Now, if that's something that you're inspired to do, listeners, don't wake up, and if you haven't woken up at the right time, don't feel like you're a failure, because obviously it takes some practice.
Yeah, and keep in mind that, I had to be able to set an alarm for if I missed my window of opportunity to rise prior to my alarm,
right.
I still had my alarm. I was never foolish and stupid to be able to just completely cut that off.
Right. So now waking up just before your alarm goes off, like 5 to 10 minutes before your alarm goes off, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a win.
Now, in application to all the other intentions, if you do not meet an intention for the day, it's important that you don't get so down on yourself that you feel discouraged to even try again.
Why not, Noah? Everyone else, beats themselves up and just really ridicules their own soul for it.
Yes, there's a lot of pressure, especially in America today, to be an achiever, and to have those achievements. But it's important to feed yourself with positive self-thought, self-talk, like we talked about in the self-talk episode, because that will allow you to become, instead of less motivated, to become more motivated. Now, there is a certain degree of feedback that you can give yourself that can challenge yourself, but you have to understand that you're challenging yourself, you're not making yourself into a failure. You're not being like that really negative, if it's a parental figure in your life or a coach or a teacher or some authority figure who really bashed you and made you feel bad about yourself. That's not the intention.
Right.
You already failed to meet that intention. And I don't like using that word, but you're going to be in that mindset sometimes when you are trying to meet intentions that you've failed in meeting them. But instead of staying in that energy of being downcast about that, be more motivated by telling yourself, okay, I can do this tomorrow. I'm still feeling that energy where I want to accomplish that, and that's enough to stay the course. Because if you lose that motivation to even want to accomplish this intention, then you're on the wrong track.
Right. And beautiful points, by the way. I really like your insight.
It's based on life experience.
Yes. The most important thing is that if you would like to be able to have a Polaroid, a snapshot of how your life is going on a daily basis, I cannot stress this enough. I first and foremost want to thank every woman on the planet, because this one trick transformed my life in so many ways, because I had to be accountable, responsible, and I had to be dedicated in doing it to be able to see myself through it. And that was journaling. And the first thing that a lot of people say is, well, Pastor, I don't have a whole lot of time to journal. I don't have a whole lot of time in my day to be able to write things down. One excuse is as good as the next, right?
Right.
But God has given you great apps. And there are several different great apps that we can link at the bottom of this podcast. But there are also simple things like a voice recorder that you could literally record what is going on throughout the course of the day to be able to keep yourself on track. Like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. This is what I'm doing. This is what I have been doing, and this is what's working or not working, right?
Yeah, just 1 to 2 minutes even.
Yeah, you don't need. Yeah, you don't need 10 hours. But what I'm saying is that being able to have yourself be accountable to your own living Bible is important. This is what I'm trying to get at. Is that for those women that have journaled when they were children, have such a phenomenal foundation of interpersonal strength and wherewithal because they held themselves accountable when they journaled when they were a child.
That sounds really good.
So I encourage you to be able to get an electronic journal or to be able to pick up a actual writing journal and have your family then one day be able to read about your book of life that is called the Bible for your life.
Yeah, now I encourage you listeners to actually write down with a pen and paper because I feel like that is more intentional when you do that. It takes a little bit longer though. And if you're one of those listeners who feels too busy to start a journal, consider this option. If you take 5 minutes every day, just 5 minutes, there are very well-made voice recorders like Kevin was talking about that you can have on your phone. In fact, there's actually a button on my iPhone that I can hit which will record my voice and then instantly type it out.
Yes.
So sometimes when I'm feeling like I don't have enough time in the day, I will hit that voice button and I will speak into the microphone my journal process. And it'll record that journal entry very simply and very effectively, very quickly. And that's all it takes.
So, with that being said, with that in mind, live with intention, but a positive intention. Mm-hmm. Live on purpose with a purpose in mind. And then last is be the very best that you can be for yourself first, other people second. Because if you're not first, you're last.
That's right. Now, Kevin, are you ready to hear the scientific experiment that has to do with consciousness?
Oh, yes,
and intention. All right, I have an article, and it's titled Evidence for Consciousness-Related Anomalies in Random Physical Systems. This scientific experiment was done by two men. One was named Dean I. Radin, and the other Roger D. Nelson. It was done all the way back in the 1980s. So this is not a new experiment. It says here that speculations about the role of consciousness in physical systems are frequently observed in literature concerned with the interpretation of quantum mechanics. What they're suggesting is there is an existence of some form of consciousness-related anomaly in random physical systems. So a random number generator is what we're talking about here. A random number generator generates ones and zeros at random. But there is a certain statistic of how far it'll get into being one heavy or zero heavy, how many of the ones or zeros are appearing. The experiment involved some form of microelectronic random number generator, a human observer, and a set of instructions for the observer to attempt to influence the random number generator to generate particular numbers solely by intention. So they weren't hooked up to this random number generator in any way, shape, or form. Now, if you want to read this full scientific study, I will have the link posted in the description of this video. If you'd like to learn more about that without really reading the entire study for yourself, because it is a little bit complicated in its wording, then I actually talk about this on Introducing Quantum Physics. So the conclusion is, after considering all of the retrievable evidence that they possibly could on these experiments that have been done, published and unpublished, and tempered by all legitimate criticisms raised to date, it is difficult to avoid the conclusion that under certain circumstances, consciousness interacts with random physical systems. Now, if our intention can shift without being connected to this electronic random number generator, then what else do you think it might be able to affect?
Right.
You know, such a simple machine as that was affected, and when they intended to have more ones or less ones, more zeros or less zeros, it happened. It worked. So I love these types of experiments in quantum mechanics because it's showing that there's some unseen element to this life that we live. There's some unseen element and power behind our consciousness. So that's the experiment for today. If you want to read that experiment, like I said, check out the links in the description below. Kevin, any words to send us off in a positive and intentional, purposeful direction?
Yes, Noah, and thank you. In conclusion to this entire podcast, I want to personally thank you for not only listening to this information, not only applying the information, but showing us that this information aids you in any kind of way. Your life example matters to us. Your input matters to us. What you say matters to us, right?
Yes.
So we encourage you on an everyday basis to be able to live a life worthy of being lived by you first and other people second, right?
Yes, because when they see you, they can feed off of that energy.
Right. So be the gift and not the wrapping paper. And we look forward to seeing you and hearing the great comments that you have to be able to say in our next podcast. Until then, my name is Kevin Peterson.
And I'm Noah Hanson.
And this is the Omnipresent Information Connection podcast. This has been another life-enhancing, authenticated podcast aired by the OIC and brought to you by the faithful OIC sponsors and contributors. Please tune in every week and subscribe to our podcast. And while you're there, explore our website with all the posts, videos, and podcasts that we have created with you in mind. While you're on the journey through our website, you will see our Patreon page where you can become a faithful contributor yourself with the freedom to be a part of our team today. Thank you.